Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Celtic Way morning briefing. It is the 17th of February. Sorry for the slight delay. We had a couple of technical issues. A late call off. I've been drafted in to host this morning's briefing. Delighted to be joined by Josh. Josh, how are you doing this morning?
Yeah, very good, Ryan. Thanks very much. An injury in the warm-up, so you've been drafted into the starting 11, and you love to see it.
Yeah, that's it. I'll answer the call. I'll always answer the call. You know me, Josh. We're here to talk about all things Celtic. Try and not go over too much old ground, though I think we're all still quite delighted after the events of Sunday, particularly in the Kilmarnock Celtic match in which Julian Araujo scored that late 97th minute winner. There was people moaning about it, there was people whinging about the late goal from Julian Araujo, but the main thing is that Celtic got those 3 points. But all focus now turns to their first leg against Stuttgart in the Europa League. It is a knockout tie. The last man to win a knockout tie for Celtic while being in charge of Celtic was Martin O'Neill. These things come full circle. I'll put it simply to you, Josh, to start things off. Can Martin O'Neill be the one to break this 20-year curse?
I genuinely wouldn't be surprised if he did, Ryan, just based on how it's gone this season. You know, he's only got one defeat under his belt so far, and that was to Midtjylland. A really good Midtjylland side. I think the Stuttgart game is a nice distraction for Celtic, you know, when they're playing in the league and domestically week in, week out at the minute. There's just so much pressure on their shoulders to keep winning games and keep up the pace in the title race. But this European game, there's not much expectation on them going into it, to be honest, that they're going to go and win it. And anything is just a welcome bonus in this tie from you. Obviously, you want to see Celtic win and break that duck, because I think if they manage to do it, it would be absolutely massive, just given how long it's been since they won a knockout tie after Christmas in Europe. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Martin O'Neill did it, but I think it's going to be a very difficult one.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to sampling the game on Thursday night. Always excited for a European game, regardless of who Celtic are playing. My emotions stay the same at Celtic Park on a European night, and it's exciting. Good. A nice wee run of home games, 2 games in a row. You've got the Stuttgart game, and then you've got Hibs at home before the daunting task of all those away games. But we'll enjoy the home games as they come. Just before we go and speak about individuals in particular, a couple of days on from the result against Kilmarnock, how are you feeling about Celtic at the moment? There was a lot of relief, certainly from where I was watching it on Sunday afternoon. I was keeled over for a good 5 minutes after it. I was like, they're leaving. This late show is getting later and later with every passing game. But yeah, relief was more the thought than anything else. What's your summation a couple of days on?
Yeah, still actually quite buzzing off the result. You know, I think I've watched the Julian Araujo goal still about 50 times in the last 24 hours. But I feel like the performances are going to need to improve. As much as Celtic have this capability now, it seems, to score at the death. They've got a number of fixtures coming up that are so much more difficult than the ones they've just had. So obviously Dundee, Livingston, Kilmarnock, you're expected to take care of them. But Rangers away twice, once in the league, once in the cup. Aberdeen away. Even Hibs at home is a tough game. They've got Motherwell at home as well before the split. They've still got to go and play both the Dundee teams away. St Mirren at home has always been a tricky fixture for Celtic as well. So some really difficult games coming up, and I feel like the performances are going to have to improve. But on that, though, you have guys, like individuals, who we're going to go on to talk about soon, but like people like Oxlade-Chamberlain still needs to build up his fitness, and when he starts regularly, he can be a big asset for this Celtic side. Thomas Trinchara's shown what he can do. Sebastian Teneke is coming into a rich vein of form, probably the best form he's been in since he's played for Celtic. And Julian Araujo, barring the first half of the weekend, is doing really well as well. So I think, as much as obviously we know the performances need to improve, I think Celtic do have the potential to play better than what they currently are. And even if you just take the second half performance from Sunday in isolation, you know, scoring 3 goals in one half of football, it's probably the best half of football Celtic have played this season that I can think of. Maybe that's recency bias, but I can't recall a 45-minute spell with it being as good as that. So if they can take that into 90 minutes, then that would be great. But it's just about if they can do that.
Yeah, it's the sustainability of these late goals, or the unsustainability rather, of the results that Celtic are getting with their current form and the way that they're playing at the moment. The form book would suggest that Celtic are winning games, yes, but they're winning games by the skin of their teeth. I've got to say, Josh, and we'll go on to speak about him just now, but I've been so impressed by Julian Araujo since he joined the club. It'll be a trivia question in the future. Who was the only player to be signed by Wilfried Nancy during his 33-day tenure as Celtic manager? It'll be Julian Araujo. And if that's the only signing he's made, then what a signing it is, because I think he's made a massive difference to this team, in that right back area in particular. Ralston will give you know what Ralston will give you, you know what Donovan will give you, although he's more of an unknown quantity than Ralston. Araujo's just a step up. I just want to read some of the quotes that came out from his interview, which went live yesterday. He was raving about the goal. He was using expletives about what was happening yesterday. Or on Sunday at Rugby Park. I think we'll let him away with that. He said, "It's a beautiful feeling. I've never felt anything like that. I mean, Celtic fans, I was told before coming here that I wouldn't realise what Celtic was and how big Celtic was until I was here. And now I know what it means to them and what it is. So I'm excited to be a part of their journey. And yeah, I'll just keep doing my best to give them what they deserve. I lost myself in the celebrations. I just went with whatever, you know. I just kept it going, kept the flow going. They, the fans, were the extra man today. I think without them, we wouldn't have got the 3 points. We believed in ourselves. We have to continue this way. You know, we can't have a performance like that in the first half, but in the second half, we came out very strong. We knew as soon as we got the first goal that things could change, so we maintained with our principles. We stayed humble and we believed in ourselves, and ultimately, we got the 3 points. Julian Araujo, you would have been in person with him. What sort of character did he cut? It seems by those comments that he seems to be quite a confident individual and good with the media.
Yeah, he's a good talker. I spoke to him previously a number of weeks ago, I think, after one of his first starts at Celtic Park. It would have been just after Martin O'Neill returned. But yeah, he was absolutely buzzing in that post-match press conference, as you can expect. I asked him where it ranks for him in terms of best moments of his career, and he said it's number one. Didn't expect him to use expletives when asked about the celebrations and such. So yeah, really good character. He was excited, and I thought, like you said, Ryan, he's added so much quality to this Celtic team. If that's the only thing, probably the only good thing Wilfried Nancy did in his tenure actually is sign Julian Araujo. In terms of a permanent deal, he was asked about that as well. Kept his cards relatively close to his chest, saying that kind of it's all about God's plan, God is in control, and things like that, which is quite interesting. And in terms of what he's brought, like you say, such a step up from someone like Anthony Ralston, with no disrespect. I know Colby Donovan's been great for Celtic when he's come into the team. He gives, he's always a good promising young player, but Araujo too is just he's just a level above. He's maybe not at the level of Alistair Johnston, but he's certainly very close to it. And I'm looking forward to see when Johnston comes back, what Martin O'Neill goes with in terms of that. It gives him another really good dilemma.
Yeah, because there's that dilemma on the left-hand side as well with Sirachi and Kieran Tierney, and I think they dovetail each other absolutely perfectly. The way that Tierney brings you that defensive stability, then if you need that little bit of madness in your game, you bring on Marcelo Sirachi and the dying embers of the game, and he was important. He played the throw-in. He played the throw-in to Chivanchara for the late winner on Sunday, so he played his part. There's also this video that I watched, I don't know if anybody else has caught it, from the Kilmarnock fans when Araujo scores that goal. Noticeably, Marcelo Sirachi is the only player that doesn't go and celebrate with the team. He goes back to the halfway line. He's locked in. He wants the 3 points. He's focused on the task at hand, which I've got to be honest, I would have expected him to be front and centre of the celebrations, and I'm sure he was post-match when he went over to the crowd at the end of the game. But he had a job to do. He had to keep Kilmarnock out, and thankfully there wasn't much time added on at the end after the goal, and he could add to that. Those two signings, two loan signings in Marcelo Sirachi and Julian Araujo, but they've brought some much needed quality to those wide areas. I dread to think where Celtic would be without those two South American players, if I'm being honest. They've really brought something new and fresh to the table. And for me, you mentioned those comments from Araujo about keeping his cards close to his chest with regard to a permanent move. If I'm the new manager coming in the summer, I'm looking at those two players, looking at the impact that they've brought and saying, I want them for the team next season. I want them because they're fully acclimatised. They clearly get what it means to play for Celtic, and they're only going from strength to strength.
Yeah, I think with Araujo, the wages might be a difficult one, obviously, because he's at Bournemouth, English Premier League side. I'm sure he'll be on a lot of money per week, so maybe prizing him away from that would be difficult, but he's seemingly loving life at Celtic, especially after a moment like that. Sriracha too, I really like Marcelo Sriracha when he's fit. He's been absolutely terrific, whether it's from the start or off the bench. It was good to see him get his first goal last week against Livy, and like you say, gets the pre-assist, as they would call it, for the throw-in, for the winning goal. So yeah, and he's different to Kieran Tierney in the sense that he'll be a bit more like what Greg Taylor was last season in terms of inverting and coming inside the pitch, and he's a top quality player. The both of them have made really good impacts, and yeah, like you say, if Celtic managed to get them both permanently next season, that would be absolutely terrific. I don't think that will happen. They might only get one, if any, but still, it's good to have basically the quality in both areas in terms of Tierney, Sriracha, and then when he's fit again, Johnston and Araujo. We were talking about the Stuttgart game. Araujo's not played for Celtic in Europe yet, obviously, because he wasn't in the squad for the Bologna and Utrecht game, so seeing him on the European stage on Thursday night will be good.
He's the sort of player that I'm really excited to see on the European stage for Celtic, and that was actually the point that I wanted to come on to. You've read my mind ever so slightly with that. But it will be his first foray into European football for Celtic. Obviously was ineligible for those final two games against Bologna and Utrecht, and I felt like the team was hurt because of that, because we saw what Araujo was bringing to the team domestically, and we're thinking, well, this is going to suit Celtic as an outball in the Europa League when he is eligible, if Celtic do get to that knockout stage or the playoff stage to get to the last 16. Now they're there. They've registered Araujo, Junior Adamu and Thomas Chavanchara. Those three will be looking to make a big impact in Europe, but specifically a guy that's been on the fringes, that's watched it all occur in Julian Araujo. He's now going to get that first taste of European football for Celtic, and he's going to feel the atmosphere at Celtic Park on Thursday night. Yeah,
I think it's an occasion he'll very much be looking forward to. Obviously, he's played in a lot of sort of big games for Celtic so far. He came off the bench against Rangers but didn't really start the game. And a lot of the other matches have been in kind of regular domestic ones that you'd expect Celtic to win, obviously barring Tynecastle. But this will be his first game starting Celtic Park under the lights, and I think it's an occasion he'll relish. And you're much more confident with him starting the game, especially at this level in a knockout tie, than you are with someone like Ralston perhaps. So yeah, really like him, really like his character, and the personality is a big thing, I think, as well, to play for Celtic. You need that bit of not arrogance, but a bit of cockiness and confidence in yourself, and I think Julian Araujo certainly has that. A lot of the new signings have it. People like Sriracha, Tunekte, Thomas Chavanchara as well. All these guys, they have, I feel like, the personality.
Nigrin as
for
well,
Celtic. Yeah. Nigrin's another one, and I think that's such a big thing that can't go understated as well.
Yeah, personality is paramount when it comes to playing for Celtic. You can't have shy players playing for Celtic. Yeah. I think that shy players, at least if you're shy off the pitch, you can get away with that, because then you let your football do your talking for you. But you can't be shy on the park for Celtic. You need to be in there. You need to be in there for duels. You need to jump for headers. I know these are the basics when it comes to top level football, but you can't have people that are hiding away, because you do get found out. And thankfully, it seems as if, and I totally agree with you with all the players that you've mentioned, all of them possess that character that's needed. Benjamin Nigrin is confident every time he takes to the field. His performances can be a little bit up and down, but my goodness, he keeps on going. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain speaks for himself. Sebastian Tunekte speaks for himself. Chavanchara speaks for himself as well. He's been on a podcast recently with the Celtic FC podcast that I'll need to listen to after this briefing to see if there's any juicy gossip or details that he's went into regarding his time at Celtic so far. But personality is key, and it's clear that those players that you mentioned have that personality to succeed.
Yeah, and I think as well, it probably stems a lot from the manager, but none of these players have kind of shied away when they're playing for Celtic on the pitch. They always give that extra 10%, and I think especially in a title race and how close things are at the minute, you need that from the players, and they clearly have that desire to get over the line no matter what and always give their all. That will partly come from the management team and the coaching staff, like I say, but the same time, I think it's a lot of it is within themselves too. Junior Adamu's another guy. I know he didn't really have a great performance at the weekend, but after that goal against Dundee, you saw like the personality within him as well. So that's good. You're just hoping the other kind of January arrival, Joel Mvuka, is able to come into form like these guys. I think Martin O'Neill's definitely taken him out of the limelight for a while, just after his kind of sort of disastrous debut against Dundee. But the thing about Mvuka is, you don't want to judge him too quickly. You know, after 45 minutes of football, you simply cannot judge a player. I think you still certainly need to see more from him and whether he has the personality to play for Celtic. A lot of people have doubts. I certainly have my own as well. But I'm going to reserve a judgment for a player after he's played more than 45 minutes.
We need more of a. We need more of an example. We need more of
more of a sample size.
We need. That's exactly the term I was looking for. Thank you for getting me out of jail there with that. We need more of a sample size. 45 minutes is too early to judge any player. Now I understand that the optics of Joel Mvuka not being in the starting or not being in the subs after his 45-minute performance against Livingston, it doesn't look great at all. That's understandable, but you're just hoping that he's working away in the background. I don't think it helps the way that he joined the club too, with the complications that were had late on in the deal due to the irregularities that were found in his medical. I know that he's had similar issues for other clubs when he's been joining them. Maybe he just needs a bit of time to get up to speed. Optics wise, it doesn't look good, especially for a player where you're hoping that they can come in and instantly hit the ground running. In some ways, you're kind of relieved that Celtic haven't bought him permanently, because if these question marks had arose after signing a permanent deal, then there'd be even more question marks labelled or lobbied at the recruitment due to signing a player that wasn't fancied or not fancied at this moment in time. You're hoping, I mean, he won't play on Thursday, he's not registered for the Europa League squad, but you're hoping that he can maybe find himself back on the bench on Sunday against Hibernian, where he can potentially make an impact. Both him and Julian Arthur have hardly made any impact. Mvuka's made more than Arthur because he's actually made his way onto the pitch. But for those two, in the case of those two, you want them to have a bigger impact in the weeks and months ahead.
Yeah, completely forgot about Benjamin Arthur for a second there actually before you mentioned him. He's another player I'm actually excited to see play, because
me too.
From what you heard down at Brentford before he joined, some decent reviews of him when he played in the League Cup for them. I know he's only got some 3 senior appearances, but when he did take to the field, the Brentford fans were raving about him. I think there was one who called him a young Van Dijk or something on social media. 6'4", physical presence, so he's another one. Just on the right wing position, Joel Mvuka, you want to see how he does and you want to reserve judgment. Yang is proved to be somewhat reliable this season, maybe fallen off a wee bit in recent weeks, but before that he was doing really well, scoring some big goals in big games. But I thought James Forrest had a really good impact off the bench at the weekend, taking on his man, making things happen. And it's just a shame that James Forrest is the age he is, because if he was even 5 years younger, he could be so instrumental in this title race, as we saw a couple of seasons ago under Brendan Rodgers. It's just a shame he is the age he is.
Yeah, but you're hoping that he can bring impact off the pitch as well as on it. He's been there, done that. He's won countless titles. He's the most decorated player in Celtic's history. So, that he's got that on. He's got that accolade, and he can use that experience for some of the new boys who are just coming to the fore and coming into the fold at Celtic. If they've just came in on loan, he can tell them what it means to play for Celtic and what it means to win titles and major honours for Celtic. I'm of the opinion that obviously James Forrest's best days are behind him. The age doesn't lie in that regard, and what he can bring, he doesn't have that explosive pace anymore. But when you're looking for, I don't want Celtic to be relying on James Forrest when they need a win. No. He's the sort of player you want to bring on late on in games to maybe shore up a victory, maybe score another couple of goals. But I don't want Celtic to be solely relying on him to make things happen in games. Maybe he can prove me wrong in that regard, but I just there's so much of an onus on him to do things when he comes onto the park. It was a bit of an SOS on Sunday. I would rather his twilight years to be a little bit less hectic than what they are at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, at least he's got his goal for the season, right? So we're not going to be going into the run and needing a
Absolutely, and he doesn't have that monkey on his shoulder.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a good thing. But like you say, I mean, I know whether it's Celtic winning, they're winning games, like his ball retention is elite, or whether they're needing a goal. I think he certainly still can have an impact, even if it's just for a 15-20 minute spell. So still got that quality. He'll never lose that. He's like you say, he's a brilliant player to have around the dressing room. I think his contract expires at the end of this season, so I'm intrigued to see what happens with that. Obviously, because we don't know who the next manager is going to be, whether the club will want to keep him around, or whatever's going to happen with that.
Yeah, it'll be down to the player as well. I think there'll be a mutual conversation on whether or not James Forrest wants to continue. I think he'll still have slight aspirations to get to the World Cup, although it would seem unlikely compared to his Euro campaign a couple of years prior, in which he was front and centre of the things late on in Celtic's season, and he managed to get on the plane to Germany for Steve Clarke's Scotland side 2 years ago. Just before we continue, if you like what we do, guys, hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel. It is completely free, and you'll be notified when we go live with these videos, pre and post match videos, interview videos, expert analysis videos. All you need to do is hit that subscribe button, and if you like what we do, hit the like button if you're already subscribed to the channel, and these videos will get linked to more and more Celtic fans. The more Celtic fans in the live chat, the better. We welcome everybody from every football team, but it's great if we get more Celtic fans in the live chat at every possible moment. Also, if you like what we do on the website, you can join us by subscribing on www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. I was reading on there this morning Stuart Ross's expert analysis on the recent game versus Kilmarnock. There'll also be press conference, embargoed content from press conferences, instant analysis from Josh from the games. So whatever you're looking for with regard to Celtic, I'm sure you'll find it on the Celtic Way website. So all you need to do is go to www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe and get involved. Get your questions in, guys, and we'll try and answer as many as we can before the end of this video. Like we were speaking about at the start of this video, Josh, it's Stuttgart on Thursday. You'll be heading off to the press conference tomorrow to talk to Martin O'Neill and a player about the upcoming game against the German Bundesliga outfit. How are you feeling ahead of that game? I know you kind of touched on it at the start of this video. Celtic in Europe, there's a pretty good feeling after the Bologna results, particularly in the way that they managed to hold on for the 2 each despite being down to 10 men for a large portion of the game. The win against Utrecht, despite the poor performance on the night, they managed to get through. They did what they had to do. Now there's focus on Europe. How are you feeling about that game?
Yeah, looking forward to it. I think there's been a certain magic about Celtic in Europe this season, just with the Martin O'Neill effect. Some of the results have been memorable. Rotterdam, the Bologna result was excellent. The first 20 minutes against Utrecht were incredible, 3-0 up. So, yeah, very much looking forward to the game, actually, Ryan. It's, like I said earlier at the top of the show, it is a nice distraction away from the grind of the league football and the title race. And although it is the Europa League, I think there's still a sense of allure surrounding it for Celtic, just because of Martin O'Neill, this squad, to see what they can do in the competition. I mean, if they got another late goal to even win the game on Thursday night or equalise in the game on Thursday night, I think Celtic Park would be setting into overdrive. One thing I think that could be critical is the atmosphere and the fans. So you heard those Julian Araujo quotes earlier, where he said that without the fans, Celtic wouldn't have won that game on Sunday, and that's a player saying that. And personally, for me, sitting in the press box, that away end was raucous for the full 90 minutes. Even when Celtic were losing the game, they were continually singing, and it was really great to hear. So, obviously, we don't know whether what the script is with the ban of the ultras and such, but I think there could be such a crucial part, not just in this game against Stuttgart on Thursday night, but in the title race as a whole. I don't want to labour the point because I've made it a number of times on here over the past couple of days, but if you could just come to a truce, get them back in between now and the end of the season, it could be so massive for this title race. Because if you've got players coming out and saying the fans are helping us go over the line in games and we're not going to win games without the fans, then I don't know what other evidence you need to suggest that you need to get them back in.
Yeah, it's such a cliche, but they are the 12th man, and they're the 12th man for Celtic. think if you bring the Green Brigade back, let's just call a spade, you bring the Green Brigade back, I think Celtic have got a much better chance of winning this title, particularly for home games, but especially for away games. Just on Thursday's opponents, I was having a little look at their squad while you were speaking there, Josh. A couple of familiar names, maybe some names that people have heard about. You've got Bilal El Khanous, that's on loan from Leicester City, the Moroccan international. You've also got a player who's done really well since leaving Brighton, I believe, and Dennis Undav, who's really managed to turn his career around at Stuttgart. He's even got call-ups to the German national team because of his exploits for the German side. Also get Dan Axel Zagadou, who was formerly of Borussia Dortmund. Remember, he was a young centre-back. If you played FIFA or FC, then you'll know all about Zagadou and how good a player he was supposed to turn into. Maybe lost his way ever so slightly. There was high hopes for him. He was one of a number of French centre-backs that were coming through at the same time. It seems to be as if William Saliba and Dayo Upamecano have overtaken him in that sort of hierarchy. But a good team filled with good players, and you're expecting a difficult test for Celtic on Thursday, like you would for any German team coming to Celtic Park.
Yeah, 100%. A really, really difficult game. I think Stuttgart 4th in the Bundesliga at the minute, so they're no mugs whatsoever. It's not.
And that's despite selling their team as well. Sorry, they sold Nick Voltemade.
Yeah, is that who he played for? I didn't realise he played for Stuttgart previously before Newcastle. So, really difficult game. I think it's not a game anyone's expecting Celtic to win or expecting Celtic to go through in the tie, to be honest. But you've always got that hope with Martin O'Neill that they can somehow manage to pull a result over the line. Obviously, I mean, against similar to what it was against Bologna. You know, they were a team who were in and about the top 6 in the Serie A, which is probably of a similar level to the Bundesliga, and Celtic went over there and managed to pull off a heroic result with 10 men. So you just never know. At home at Parkhead, this team seems to play with the shackles off in the Europa League under the current manager. So yeah, you just hope it's not a repeat of what the Roma game was. You know, they were a top quality outfit coming to Celtic Park, and they taught Celtic a lesson that night. The game was done by the first half. So as long as the longer Celtic can stay in the tie, the better. Obviously, speaking to Martin O'Neill after the game on Sunday, made some interesting points about the Europa League and saying that, and he has said this as well when he was on the official Celtic podcast over the weekend, that it could be the undoing of Celtic in the league, this Europa League campaign, you know, because the extra games could not benefit them at all. It could come to be their undoing. But so that what I was going to say is the point I'm interested in is if Celtic, for example, lose the game on Thursday night, worst case scenario 3-0, and they're out the tie, I think it then goes to next Thursday night. Martin O'Neill probably heavily rotates the side just to save them for that game against the Rangers at Ibrox on Sunday. Then if they get a good result on this Thursday night, say they draw the game, win by a goal, or even lose by just one goal, then he goes next Thursday night over to Germany and probably has to play a very strong side when he has Rangers at Ibrox on the Sunday. So it's going to be a really difficult period this upcoming for Celtic, as we know fine well. So just looking forward to it all, though, because I mean there's a real sense of anticipation and excitement I feel for this upcoming run, just because of how the team have been getting over the line in recent weeks, and if they manage to improve on those performances, then you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, we've got a couple of questions coming in from some of the viewers, and we appreciate each and every one of you for getting involved, guys. Thank you so much. Hazel Finn, who's always in the comment section, we really do appreciate you coming in every morning. Do you see a return for Iheanacho this season? I actually, and this is just my general opinion, you might disagree with me, Josh, I actually think we'll see him on Thursday night due to the fact that he's been training. I know that he wasn't risked on the plastic surface last weekend, though he has been in training. He's been spotted with Junior Adamu, so and he's available for the European squad. So I don't see why we won't see him at least on the subs bench on Thursday night.
Yeah, I really like Iheanacho actually. When he's fit, he seems to have a really good attitude, knows what it takes to play for Celtic, and he has that quality as well. Even mentioned the Roma game just there, like he came on at half time in that game and I thought he made a really good impact in the second half, albeit Celtic didn't manage to score. And he's done alright for Celtic before in Europe this season, scoring away in Belgrade, had the disallowed goal at home to Braga that should have stood. It was a shocking decision with the handball that night. So yeah, I think he's still got a lot to offer between now and the end of the season. Obviously everyone's focused on Schwanchera, rightly so, because he's been really good since he's come in the door. Junior Adamu's another option at the top end of the park, but I wouldn't write Iheanacho off yet because he is fit, still has a lot to offer.
Yeah, that's maybe another point that you could make, the fact that both Chavanchara and Adamu both have Bundesliga experience. They've faced off against Stuttgart in years gone by. They've both got experience at playing at that level against a German team. So regardless of who Martin O'Neill goes for, and I do believe that he'll go for Chavanchara on Thursday night because he should. I think he's the player in form, and he's a good player at building up play as well and holding the ball up and doing those unfancied jobs that he seems pretty capable in doing. You need somebody with that little bit of know-how to lead the line on European nights. I think he could be that player. But those two can certainly have an impact with the Bundesliga experience that they've got at their disposal.
Yeah, even Schwancher, I mean, you're talking about holding the ball up and such, like his assist on Sunday for Julian Araujo was magnificent, the way he just took it in, touch round the corner, flashed it across goal. Excellent. So yeah, I mean, those guys will have played against Stuttgart away from home as well, so that'll be another good point to have going across there and have that experience. So yeah, looking forward to it because I've not seen Schwancher, even Araujo, Adamu in Europe for Celtic yet because obviously they weren't in the squad for the previous matches, so I'm looking forward to seeing how they do.
Yeah, absolutely. Got a couple more questions and I'll just bring them up just now. Des Harkin was coming in asking the lineup against Stuttgart, folks, and Sinisalo in on Thursday. I just don't see that happening, unfortunately, even though I do want to see Sinisalo, but I want to see Sinisalo purely because of Kasper Schmeichel's current form. The second goal, it's a difficult one to watch back. It's like slow motion, almost the way it trickles into the back of the net. That's a number of mistakes that Kasper Schmeichel's made this season. There's always that worry about the shoulder, the fact that he's getting constant injections to deal with pain in his shoulder. Does it say more about, and I made this point to Tony yesterday and I posed this question to him, does it say more about Sinisalo that he's still not getting a game even though Kasper Schmeichel's clearly playing through injury?
Yeah, I think so, Ryan, because I think if Martin O'Neill trusted Sinisalo more, I think he'd probably give him more minutes. Obviously he's played 2 games under O'Neill, the Talbot game in the Cup and then the Dundee game, because Schmeichel needed an injection ahead of the Dundee game, so Sinisalo played. I missed the Dundee game, but even in the Talbot one, he didn't really cover himself in glory. I mean, for a goalkeeper for Celtic against Auchinleck Talbot, it should be a relatively quiet day at the office, but he tried to come for a couple of crosses and that one didn't look entirely convincing. So I think, yeah, if Celtic had a more established, so to speak, number 2 in the door, I think there certainly would be a debate to be had by Martin O'Neill with that. But when he came in the door for the second time this season, he set his cards out on the table in one of his first press conferences and sit-downs with the media that Schmeichel would be his number 1 until the end of the season. Trust Kasper Schmeichel in the big moments. And to be fair, aside from the kind of, he's obviously got his issues which are well documented as we know, but a lot of games he's saved Celtic this season. Tynecastle, he bails Austin Trusty out. Falkirk away, makes a massive save at the end. So he is capable of coming up with these stops, but at the same time he has that risk where he's kind of hesitant to dive to one side just because of his shoulder. And even the free kick from Tyrese John-Jules at 2 each at the weekend, like Kasper Schmeichel just leaves it as if it's going off target and it hits the bar. If that dips at the last minute and manages to find its way into that top left corner, Schmeichel looks awful in that scenario for me.
Oh, without a doubt, and Tony and I were speaking about that yesterday. That's a massive error that he got away with, and it's still, to be fair, he might have not even got away with it because it can hit the crossbar and come out and rebound to a Kilmarnock attacker. All of a sudden, he's not went for it, he's not flapped for it, he's been too lax in watching the strike, not judging where the ball is going to go or where the ball's going to end up, and it's hit off the bar. It was a great free kick by John Jules that was unlucky not to hit the back of the net. Fortunately for Celtic, it didn't. Bobby then comes in, final question, saying, are the Germans better than Roma? For me, this is 6.5 a dozen. I think they're both good sides, and you'll both see you'll see the step up in quality. I think everybody saw the step up in quality when Roma came to town in December under Wilfried Nancy. Now I know that there was a lot of things going on in the background surrounding Celtic, a new formation that the players just weren't getting acclimatised to. But they did the same when they went to Ibrox a couple of months earlier. You know, they showed that they're a quality outfit, and I've got no doubt that Stuttgart will be the same. They're a bit of a revolving door when it comes to talent coming in and out, but they seem to have it under wraps, and they seem to replace the players that they sell with like-minded players, and sometimes even better players that they bring in. So they're an impressive club, and I've got no doubt that they'll be impressive on Thursday, and Celtic need to be at their very best to get anything from the game.
Yeah, I think in terms of comparisons to Roma, I think Roma are probably a slight level up, just based on the fact they have people like Paulo Dybala within their ranks, a lot more, at least for me, recognisable names. But Stuttgart, for a top 4 side in the German Bundesliga, you know you're going to get a really, really tough game. Celtic are definitely underdogs going into the tie. I'd much rather than be lining up against Ferencváros, who were the other team they could have had in the draw. But yeah, just really actually looking forward to Thursday night's game. It's a game you could a lot of watching Celtic at the minute. You're a bit stressed just watching it, because in a title race that's only natural, because the team need to get over the line. But this Stuttgart game, you can go into it not worrying that much about the outcome of the game, because it's somewhat of a free hit in my eyes. But at the end of the day, though, you want Celtic to win it to try and manage to break that duck of winning a knockout European tie.
Yeah, I want Celtic to win a coin toss, never mind a game. I'm so competitive when it comes to Celtic. It's that winning mentality, and it gets installed in you from an early age that you want Celtic to win every single game. You know, Celtic have had fond memories of playing Stuttgart before. Martin O'Neill's got fond memories of facing Stuttgart before. So I like that it's coming full circle. And if Celtic were to get through, one of the teams that they could face off against in the next round is Porto. You know, Martin O'Neill against Porto. The storylines write themselves. So it'd be brilliant if that could be realised, and Martin O'Neill could exact a little bit of revenge on Porto all those years later. Josh, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on this morning. Anything else that you want to discuss before we finish off today?
I was just going to say, actually, I saw it pop up on Twitter the other day. I can't recall the guy's name, but it was he had a ticket from the Stuttgart game all the way back in 2002, 2003, and the ticket was €15. Supposedly the ticket for the away leg this Thursday is only €16.50 or something. I mean, that's just incredible. Over 20 years later, and the price has only gone up €1.50. The Germans they've got it bang on the money over there with their football.
The Germans have got it sussed when it comes to football, that is for sure. And even the bigger teams, I mean, Stuttgart are a big team in Germany, of course, but even the bigger teams lobby against, you know, rising prices. You look at the Bayern Munich fans, you look at the Borussia Dortmund fans. It's a bit of a united front against the rising prices, which is always great to see. I always look forward to Germans coming to Celtic Park. They always make one hell of an atmosphere regardless. Bayern Munich fans were brilliant last season when they came to town. I'm sure that Stuttgart will be the same. 2 days to go until that big game. Looking forward to it already. Even more excited now after speaking about it for the best part of 40 minutes with you, Josh. Thank you so much for coming on today. Really do appreciate it. Thank you to each and every one of you for joining us in the live chat, and even those that aren't on the live chat and who are just tuning in, we appreciate each and every one of you for joining us on the Celtic Way. There's my dog going mental. She wants to know it's time for the podcast to end. If you like what we do, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button on the YouTube channel as well. Join us on the Celtic Way at www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. Until next time, guys, it's been a pleasure. Josh, thank you very much for coming on, and we'll see you all a little bit earlier tomorrow for Wednesday's briefing. Cheers, guys.